Pretty Flirty and Nerdy. I'm Juliana, and I have a very special guest with me, Christopher Zunno. If anyone from Bishop Gorman was in my class from around 2007 to 2011, you would know Christopher Zunno as the best English teacher at Bishop Gorman. I don't know about you all, but he was my favorite teacher. And also, too, honestly, because of you and how you taught me to analyze certain poems and just what we went through, it helped me become such a better reader and comprehend things better. I was managed to get my first A in college English course, and I did well in English all through college and through tests and things. I always passed English. So, Zunno had been my favorite English teacher, and I just love having that memory with you. And I'm so excited you're on my podcast today. So thank you so much for coming on and for sharing what it was like in your 30s. And it's kind of fun because you were 30s when you were teaching my class. So I can't wait to hear how we were with you too.
No, well, thank you. And I really love being here. I'm glad that I'm able to do this with you, Juliana. I got to tell you, one of the things that I always looked forward to when you came into my classroom, when your class was coming in, you always had a smile. You were always happy. You were always ready to learn. You can't say that about all teenagers, especially seniors that are getting ready to graduate. But you did. You came in every day with a smile, and I knew I could look forward to that every day. So that was a very bright part of my day each day. So, I've been in education now. This is 27 years now, and that's one of the things I'll always remember about you. So I appreciate you for what you are, who you are, and what you did.
That made me so happy because I always wonder if I ever made an impact on my teachers as much as they made an impact on me. So just hearing that from you just made me really happy because it's like it made me happy and enjoyed having me in your class. And I wasn't one of those annoying little assholes.
No, no, no,
No, that's
not at
awesome.
all.
I just remember too, you're so fun. I think the reason why I liked you a lot too is because you're from New York. And my family's from New York, so I kind of understood your sense of humor. And it's so funny because I remember I had some pretty asshole kids in my classroom. And I just remember a few times you had this like fake baseball bat. It was like a balloon bat, and you whack them in the back of the head, like you're stop being dumb. And in all good fun, and it was funny because everyone laughed at that too. But they're like, all right. You have to be serious. He's taking out the baseball bat.
That there's sometimes like I'll get messages from kids throughout the years that I taught at Gorman, and it was like, "Hey, remember that time you dragged my desk outside into the hallway?" Or I think you were in the classroom. I was in the dance room at Gorman, and I had the exterior door, the door that went out to the parking lot. And there was one girl, I can't remember her name, but I would just pick up her desk with her in it, and I just put her outside into when you're ready, you come back in. And she writes me about that sometimes. She just gets a kick out of it. She's like, thanks for doing that, because otherwise I would have just gotten away with whatever I did. So I try to make sure that I always tried to make sure that even if I got upset at somebody, I didn't stay upset long, but I tried to get a point across, like, you can do better.
And that's one of the things I really admired about you and your teaching skills is because a lot of times teachers would just be like, go to the dean. Just go to the dean, and then come back. But you actually taught kid lessons all right, I'm not gonna handle this. Go outside, taking your desk, moving it out,
Mhm.
and it sticks with them. And it just makes them be like, you know what? I was being an asshole. I have to apologize. And it worked. It's what you're good at.
So, I mean, funny story about that. I don't remember what year he graduated, but there was a young man, John Lowry was his name. And when we opened the school here that I'm at now, he was the facilities director. And he came over to me and he goes, Zuno, I don't know if you remember me. And I was like, yeah, John, what's up? He says, I just want to apologize. He goes, I want to apologize for the stuff that I did. And in my mind, he never did anything that bad. But I guess, the way he was with some teachers, he must have felt he was that way. But I never tried to look at any of my students, you kind of learn over the years, and you get frustrated over the years. And, probably when I moved here to Vegas, it was probably about the time that I'm like, okay, the kids are kids and they're going to act like kids, and you could get real mad at them and you could punish them, you could send them to the dean, or you can work with them and help them grow up. And that was always something I tried to do. And I think, yeah, like I said, I think it was when I hit my 30s where I was finally like, I can be better at this job by helping more than just teaching English, by helping more than, making them write essays. There's other lessons that can be taught. And, John, great kid. He's got a wife, he's got a child now. He lives in Indiana. But when he said that to me, I'm like, man, you weren't that bad. You're okay, dude.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, it's really impactful, and I think as kids, we over, like, analyze things so much, especially at that age, like, "Oh, no," like, "I did something bad," or, and I think you might have been his favorite teacher, and he might have felt, like, super bad that he treated you that way. It was like, "I just gotta apologize."
Right.
And so and that's, like, one of the things I love about you again, like, is how genuine you are with your students, and it's like you're more like kind of a pal as well. You're like you're a teacher, but you're also helped us grow up, but you're also what like if we had anything to talk to you about anything serious, we could come to you. We know that we can. And we know that you would be able to help us no matter what.
And I appreciate that. Yeah. I mean, you hear a lot, about teachers. Oh, if you could just reach that one student. And my thing was always, why reach one when you teach 150? If I've only reached one student, I didn't do my job. And so, my goal was I wanted to make sure I had a connection with everybody. And I mean, yeah, was it did it wear on you sometimes? Everybody had something to talk to you about. And I I was never going to turn anybody away, but it wears on you sometimes. But that just means like you made a connection with those kids and they're growing up and they want to try and learn more. And that's always a positive for me.
Yeah, I love that. And so I want to get into more of your life as well, because I knew you as a teacher standpoint, not really as a person standpoint. So,
Mhm.
like, because when you're growing up, you're like, "Oh, he's my teacher," but you don't know the person behind the teacher. Does
Mhm.
that make sense? And
Yeah.
so I kind of want to know, like, what got you into teaching? What got you to Bishop Gorman? What are you doing now? And like, what? And I know too, if people don't know, you became a principal, which is like amazing. You're not a principal now, but like,
No.
how did you take those steps? And did you feel fulfilled in each step you took?
Sure. No, great. No, happy to talk about all that. So, like you said, I grew up in Brooklyn, New York. Grew up in an Italian Catholic family, and Catholic school kid through and through my whole life. Regina Pacis, Bavarian High School, St. Joseph's College. Even my teaching background is, like I said, 27 years in education, and 22 of those years have all been Catholic schools. So, grew up as that good Italian Catholic school kid, working class family. Parents always instilled those hardworking skills in me. And, I went through the phases of my life of, I want to be a doctor, I want to be a lawyer, I want to be a policeman. But I always kind of went back to, I want to be. And so I never knew what kind of teacher I wanted to be until I kind of got to the tail end of high school. I loved English, I loved math. I have somewhere, I got my English medal from high school, but the goal was to teach. And so I love English and math. So, and everybody was saying when I graduated, oh, there's more jobs teaching math and science. So teach math. So I started off college as a math major. And after the third semester, I was just tired of it. I mean, it was just a lot of linear, just, these are the equations, these are the answers. And for some people, that's great. And, I could always find an answer to the equation. For me, it was, I wanted to know more. I wanted to dive more into it. I wanted to analyze more. So at that point, I switched to becoming an English teacher and never looked back at that point. I went through, graduated in 95, my bachelor's in English, took a year off kind of and did construction, bartended, worked in a toy store, did a lot of that stuff, and then started teaching in 96, was in a small Catholic elementary school for 2 years. Then I got into high school and I said, high school is for me. So got married in 98, I think it was, and packed up, moved to San Diego in 2000. And San Diego was really where I learned how to be a good teacher. I think I always made good connections, but in San Diego is where I learned to be a good teacher. I was at a school called University of San Diego High School. It's now called Cathedral Catholic High School. And they loved what I was doing. They loved how the students responded to me, but they wanted me to be better at my craft. And so let's see, I started teaching there in '01, and probably like '02, '03, they really worked with me. And '03 was when I hit 30. They really worked with me. And I think that's where I really hit my stride. That's when they started giving me senior classes, teaching English literature. They let me guest teach some AP classes. And that's when I really hit my stride as a teacher. Coincidentally, That was also when I went through separation with my first wife and eventually divorce and moved. And then I was at a crossroads at that point because, my 30th birthday was really interesting. She was like, "Well, what do you want to do?" And I was like, "Well, I don't know. I mean, maybe we go out to dinner with some friends." And we did. We went out to eat downtown San Diego. It wasn't anything special, but I've never tried to keep the spotlight on myself in any way. So, it was kind of at a crossroads in my life and we hit 30 and the next year was actually when she went back to New York and hooked up with an old boyfriend of hers. And my 31st birthday, I'll never forget this, was in 2004. Nobody remembered my birthday. It was one of those things, and I was coaching. I was coaching basketball, and we were in a tournament. We were in a camp, and we were running a camp, and then my team was in a team camp at USD, and so the morning ran the camp, and then went through our team camp, and we played like 4 games that day, and then my mom called me something like 5 o'clock or something like that. She says, "Oh, what are you doing?" So, coaching, got games all day. Oh, anything going on today? I'm like, Well, I mean, just my birthday." And she was like, "Oh my God, I can't believe I forgot it." My mom forgot it was my birthday. It was the funniest thing. I mean, it was like, and the other part of it was later that night, a friend invited me out to dinner because she knew I was coaching all day. So I thought she invited me out for my birthday. I thought she and a bunch of friends were inviting me out for my birthday. So we went out and she goes, "Yeah, it's so funny. It's so and so's birthday it's so and so's birthday today." I was like, "Oh, how cool. They have the same birthday as me." She was like, "Oh my God, it was your birthday today." So I was kind of yeah. So I mean, I'm at the point where I'm getting separated. Nobody remembered my birthday that day. And I was just like, "Oh, okay, how's this supposed to go right now? Like I'm 31. How is life supposed to go now? What does everyone say life is supposed to go right now?" And I realized at that point is that there's no blueprint. There's no blueprint at that point. I mean, yeah, everyone says, "Well, you're 30, are you married? Do you have kids? What's your career?" And this and that. And like I said, I was like, I didn't have a path and I was okay with it because I realized there was no blueprint at that point. The blueprint was mine. And I was realizing I like San Diego. I love San Diego. I would move back there in a second. I couldn't do San Diego by myself, especially I'm going through a separation and all that stuff. So I said, okay, do I go back to New York or do I start someplace else? And one of my best friends that I grew up with in New York, he moved out. He went to college in Vegas. He went to college at UNLV. And he was living out here. And I said, "You know what? Let me give Vegas a shot. I love driving there and hanging out. Let me give it a try." And so I packed up in 2005 and moved to Vegas and started teaching at Liberty High School, where I met my current wife, my wonderful, beautiful, amazing wife, Amanda, who taught me what it was like and what it meant to be really not only to like have a good marriage, but to be loved and to be in love. And she really taught me that. I think my first marriage was a kind of well, my brother's married and has a kid. My sister's got a kid and she's getting married. So I'm supposed to do that now. And like I said, I think at 31, when all that stuff happened, I realized there's no blueprint. There's no, this is supposed to happen right now. You make your blueprint as you go. And so, I met Mandy and, we connected right away and we started, it's funny, the day that we decided, because we would randomly get together, we would randomly make out after basketball games at bars and stuff like that. And then finally, like it was February 2nd, 2006. And we were both like, okay, what are we doing? And we decided, that day we decided this is it. Like this is us. Like we're in. Like there's no other people. There's no random making out sessions. This is us. And the funny thing was about that, I forget how many days later it was, but I got a letter in the mail and it was my divorce decree and it was dated February 2nd. And I was like, well, okay.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Perfect timing.
exactly, exactly. So, and that's when I realized like there's no blueprint. The blueprint will happen. You create it. You create the path. And I think that's one of the things that I always tried to impart to you guys is you create your own path. I'm sure I said several times, you're going to go to college and, you got your number one college. And if you get in, you're going to go to it. And this is what you're going to major in. And at some point, you're going to realize, well, I don't really care about this right now. I want to do something else. Or you're going to get your degree and you're going to say, but I don't know that I want to work in that field. That's what I'm saying. There's no blueprint. It's you are what your blueprint is what you create that blueprint to be. And so, you can look at it and say, I'm supposed to be here, 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 and here, but I'm not. So what do I do now? That's up to you. It's always gonna be up to you. And, I could have tucked my head and, I could have went back to New York and said, "I'm divorced. I'm gonna move back with my parents till I figure it out." And for some people, that might be okay. But for me, I wasn't ready to give up. I wasn't ready to say, "No, I'm supposed to go back and live with my parents and find a nice Italian girl in New York," and that stuff. I was ready to keep going. And so that's what I did. I kept going in San Diego till it was at a point where it was like, okay, I can live paycheck to paycheck, or I can try something new. And I tried something new. And like I said, it's been a blessing ever since. We got married in oh my God, '07. We got married and we waited a few years, we traveled, we did all that great stuff, and then we decided it was time for a baby. And in 2012, 2013, in that time frame there, we found out that we were going through infertility. And so again, it was okay, well, let's try this, let's try this, let's try this, thousands of dollars. Or we tried one medical treatment, which worked, but unfortunately we lost the baby. And then it was like, okay, we can try the medical treatment again, or we can adopt and we can take on a child that, somebody else, not that somebody else doesn't want, but somebody else can't do it. And in 2014, our beautiful baby girl was born. We were there in the delivery room and we were there for the whole process. And, she's almost 8 years. She's 2 months today from her eighth birthday. And, she's great. She's amazing. I mean, here I am. It was this pattern, I got to be married and I have to have a child, this, that, and the other thing. My first kid came when I was 43, not in my 30s, not in my 20s. So that's what I'm saying. There's no blueprint that you have to follow. You create your blueprint.
That is so, so powerful because you're right. Like there's a blueprint that it's like, oh, you go to, high school, you go to college, after college, you get a job, after a job, you get a kid and family, or, marriage, family, all this stuff. And it's like people that don't have that right now, they think, well, what's wrong with me? I'm not following the blueprint. Why is this not where I'm supposed to be in life? And I think that's kind of where I felt a little bit, where I'm like, I don't have, I don't have my own place yet. I don't have, a career really that it's like I graduated with my I graduated with psychology. I'm not doing anything in psychology. Like my life is not how I seemed it to be, but it's still going pretty well, I would say. It's kind of like going through life, figuring out what to do and how to kind of be what makes you happy. And I like the
Yeah.
fact that you were like, I don't have a blueprint. I'm just doing me and whatever happens, happens. And you lived a beautiful, like, 30s and 40s, and you have a kid who I saw photos and things, and she looks beautiful, and you seem so happy, and it's like, yeah, like, it's not always linear, and people take their time. It's not a race.
Yeah. But here, I'm gonna tell you what, Juliana, I'm gonna
Yeah.
disagree with you on one thing because you said I'm not doing anything with psychology, but I've been listening to your show and just talking to you today. You're doing a lot with psychology because you're helping so many people right now. You're helping people who are looking for their way. That's why we're listening to your show. That's why we listen to you. That's why you're our friend because you are that person that kind of is guiding us right now. It's guiding people your age and a little older, a little younger, but you're helping those people, and what you're doing is incredible. So don't say that you're not doing anything with your degree because you totally are, kiddo.
Thank you. That means a lot to me. It really does. It wasn't what I initially went to school for,
Mhm.
but it's like I always found it very interesting in the fact that you're saying that I am using it just in a different way. It definitely means a lot because it's like, oh, I didn't think of it that way. So thank you for that. Yeah, and I just like I said before, the blueprint and everything that you're talking about is just it's such a good reminder for people, and it brings me back to an episode that is not I'm not sure if it'll be launched by the time yours comes out, but one of my friends is like, they said when like they turn 30, no one knows what the hell they're doing. And I'm like, you know what? That's kind of true. Like, did you feel that way too? Like when you're kind of in that phase of 30 going through life, did you kind of not know what you were doing and just kind of figuring things out as you were kind of figuring out your blueprint?
I think we all believe we know what we're doing because it's hard to say no because it's hard to say absolutely no one does because I think we all go into it believing we know what we're doing, but life is not linear, things are gonna change, think pattern, trying to think of the best way to explain this. So, like I said, I was teaching in San Diego, right, when I was there with my ex-wife, and I was teaching, and I was bartending, and I was coaching basketball, and I was working on a master's degree in English literature, and then all of a sudden, and right then, I knew what I was doing. I was going to teach English literature for the rest of my life. I was going to be married to her, and we were going to have children, and hopefully, eventually, she was going to work, and I wasn't gonna have to bartend anymore, and then we split up, and it's like, "Okay, is this really what I want to do with the rest of my life? Do I want to teach English If I get a master's in English literature, I'm pigeonholing myself and I'm going to teach English literature for the rest of my life. If I stay here in San Diego, I'm going to bartend and teach. And I love coaching basketball. So I'm gonna do all those things. And I'm gonna live paycheck to paycheck and I'm gonna be exhausted. So what's the next step? So I think we all believe we know what we're doing. And then life happens and it changes. And then when it changes, okay, I know what I'm going to do for the rest of my life. I'm 32 years old. I'm moving to Las Vegas and I'm going to find a good high school job and I'm going to stick in it. And okay, well, retirement is good in the public schools. So I'm going to stay at Liberty High School forever. Well, I get a call from a friend. Hey, there's an opening at Bishop Gorman High School. You'd be perfect for it. They would love you there. Okay, well, let me give it a shot. I'm sitting in Little Italy. I get a phone call from the principal at Bishop Gorman. Hey, we want you to teach here. So I'm writing on the tablecloth in Little Italy in New York. So now I know what I'm going to do for the rest of my life. I'm going to teach at Bishop Gorman, and it's a great school, and I love everybody there. And then sometime around, I had probably around 38, 39, I started getting tired of teaching. And I'm like, well, what am I going to do? I have no retirement built up because I've been in Catholic schools and I've been 4 years in a public school. So I didn't get vested there. So let me stick it out a little bit more. And then our daughter is born. And I'm like, I can't do this anymore. I can't teach anymore. And it wasn't the students because I loved all you guys. I mean, even the ones that were pains in my ass, I loved. Okay. It wasn't the job because I loved teaching. I love teaching. Let me rephrase that. I loved my literature. I loved the literature that I taught you guys. It was the repetitive day after day after day after day, and I got tired of it. And that's when I said, okay, I'm gonna step down. I'm not gonna do this anymore. And well, what are you gonna do? Well, there's Trader Joe's right down the street. They've got a good benefit plan. I'll go there. And somebody said to me, hey, are you out of your mind? I'll never forget. It was Mr. Kiefer's secretary. She was like, are you out of your mind? She's like, you need to be a principal. And I was like, really? And I had started it, and again, started another master's. Because what's the next step after you get your bachelor's? You have to get your master's degree. Started another master's degree in administration. And I wasn't into it. And UNLV cut the program for a little while, but I just wasn't into it. But I was like, well, I don't have a degree. She's like, you have more experience than the majority of the principals that are in our K-8 schools. They usually just promote a teacher. So I interviewed and had a great interview at St. Anne's, had a great interview at St. Christopher's, ended up getting hired at St. Christopher's, which unfortunately is closed now. But I was there for 3 amazing years, loved it there. We got accredited. We had the highest accreditation rating in the diocese. And then this other beautiful opportunity, Cristo Rey St. Viator in North Las Vegas here opened, and I wanted to be a part of it. I wanted to be helping the students because we only work with students from low income families. And I wanted to have this opportunity to come here and be a part of that and open the school. And I'm the athletic director here. I teach strength and conditioning classes. I opened the school as the dean of students and then moved full time over to athletics. So again, I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to teach at Bishop Gorman for the rest of my life. No, don't want to do that. I'm going to be the principal at St. Christopher's. Oh, love St. And I did. I loved St. Christopher's. If this school never opened here, I believe that the school would still be open and I'd still be, but this opportunity came and now I'm here. And now I'm like, well, 27 years as an education. I'm like, am I getting tired again? Am I looking for something else? So, I believe at some point we all know what we're going to do, but then life happens and what we know changes.
That is so important to keep in mind. It's not always, like you said, it's not always linear. It changes all the time. You change your yeah, you change your beliefs, you change your thoughts, you change your desires and your dreams. It's not always like, oh, I'm gonna be this, I'm gonna be this is what I'm gonna be. It's gonna be like, no, I'm gonna be this, and then I'm kind of tired. I want to mix things up. I want to change things up a bit. I'm gonna do this. It's like I think people get stale sometimes in a job or an environment, and they're not having that growth that they thought that they had. And I like how you just changed things up and that you went to grow your own. How do I say it? You grew in your own way to where you're like, yeah, this is right for me. This is where I'm supposed to find my growth right now. And you don't just stay stagnant. You change goals, you change professions, you change levels of like career wise in the academics. And it's just like hearing you go through all of that and seeing your growth, it's like, yeah, you needed all that growth to be the best creative director you can be. It's like
Mhm.
it's your own path that you created, not the general blueprint that is meant for the general person.
No, absolutely, absolutely. Yeah, and it's one of those things where it's your life. You can do whatever you want with your life. Yeah, I know. So, like sometimes I go back and talk about, but I remember my ex wife. She said to me, "Hey, do you mind? I want this couch, and I want this." I'm like, "You can take everything, because can't the only thing that people can take from you that you can't get back is your life. You're the creator of your own life. You're the director. You're the architect. You do what you want with your life, and nobody can take that from you. And if you want to switch gears, switch gears. There's nothing that says you have to do this. That you should be in this position. It's definitely it's you. It's all about you and who you bring along with you. I mean, now I have this amazing woman in my life. I have a beautiful, beautiful daughter who, does all these things. I mean, I know I post a lot. You were talking about I post a lot about her softball, but you know what? She's a dancer. Also, she is a gymnast as well. She in third grade, when she's allowed to, she wants to do cheerleading. When we find an all girls program, she wants to play basketball. She likes to sing. She writes down yesterday she had YouTube on and she was writing down the lyric, because they put the lyrics on the screen. She was writing down the lyrics to "This Is My Fight Song," and that's the truth. It's her fight song. It's all of our fight song. It's what we want in our lives. And you know what? 30 is not the end. 30 is a great beginning. And there's a lot of fight left in all of us. So
30 is a great beginning. I love that. I feel like a lot of times people don't realize it, but 30 is definitely the beginning. And so, for those turning 30, I wanted to ask you, what advice do you wish you had when you turned 30 about being 30?
yeah, it's a great question. And I heard you ask it on another one of your shows, so I was like, I gotta have something ready. And I think one thing for sure I would tell myself is it's gonna be okay. You're gonna go through stuff and you're gonna have changes and there's gonna be ups and there's gonna be downs and you know, negativity is gonna be placed on you. And it's up to you if you wear that negativity or if you say, no, I'm better than that. And everything that you go through, you're gonna come through. There's nothing that God created us that we can't withstand. We he put us out down here, and there's a lot of shit that goes on in this world. You've seen it, we've all seen it. But he put us here because we can withstand that. And we can come out better on the other side. And don't do it alone. That would be another one of my big pieces of advice to myself. Don't do it alone. Have people in your life because you can lean on everybody for anything. I could have gone through that divorce alone and quiet and suffered through it, but I didn't. I had great friends in San Diego, had my best friend out here in Las Vegas. My family helped me in so many ways. My parents, my dad drove out here with a friend of his, packed up my house in San Diego in a U-Haul truck and drove it out here to Las Vegas. Don't do it alone. That would be another big piece of advice to myself is you I you know, I think I've said this so many times in my lives when I've heard teenagers say to me, "Well, I don't need nobody. I'm just gonna do this myself. I don't need a." You're right. You don't need a boyfriend. You don't need a girlfriend. But God did not create one person. He created two. There was the Adam and Eve were there, and then eventually, we're there. We're meant to have companionship. We're meant to be with people, and we can't go through this alone. And if you're struggling, if you like, I struggled when my wife asked me for my 40th birthday, "What do you want to do?" I said, "Run away." It was hard, but if that's the way you feel going into your 30s, don't do it alone. I didn't tell her I want to run away by myself. I said, I want us to go somewhere, because it's too much sometimes to deal with by yourself. Have good people around you, and not somebody that's going to be a yes person either. Somebody that's going to be honest with you. And that's what I would tell myself. If I could look back and tell myself at 30, I said, listen, I would tell myself, listen, you're going to go through some crap over the next couple of years, and have your friends with you. Don't try and do it by yourself.
What's that saying? It takes a village to raise someone. Kind of like it takes a village to keep you up
Yeah,
and to keep up your energies and just have you realize that you are someone that's worth everything that you deserve and desire.
absolutely.
Thank you so, so much for being on my podcast today, for sharing your story. This has been such a treat for me and for any of my listeners who are my old classmates from Bishop Gorman. I hope you all appreciate this too. And yeah, so thank you so, so much. I truly, truly just loved having you on my podcast.
Oh no, this was fantastic. And like I said, I since you asked me, I've been talking about it all the time. I can't wait to do this. I can't wait to do this. So this was so exciting. So, and you know what? Just to get an opportunity to have a conversation with you too, Juliana. Like I said, you were always one of the bright spots in my day. Back when you were in school at Gorman, and it's just great to hear your voice, and see what you're doing and how you're helping people. You have people on from different walks of life, and it's just wonderful for everybody to hear what people have gone through, to know it's fine. It's fine. There's everything is great.
Yeah, thank you so much. I truly appreciate that. It really does make my heart so happy.
I'm glad. It was great talking to you, kiddo.
Good talking to
Hey,
you.
friends, thank you for listening to today's episode. Please take a moment to follow and review this podcast so it could reach others. Also, if you leave a review, I'll be sharing your review in the next episode. Lastly, if you want to be part of this growing podcast to chat about your life, your profession, passions, or if you have advice that you wish you had at 30, please sign up at the link provided in the show notes. I would love to have you as a guest on the show. Thank you so much for listening, and I hope you have a wonderful day.